Mr. DePena than Mr. Kafori. And apparently we said something to offend Mr. LaPlante.
It's not you, it's me. It really is. It's me. I'm on the committee, so I can't say it.
Saliste bien, después te crees que no tienes que hacer trabajo.
Good? Let me say it. Good? Ready.
Sigue bebiendo.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the September 27th meeting of the Personnel Committee to order. This evening I am joined by Councilor Brian DePena and Councilor Myra Ortiz, our Vice Chair. My name is Dave Abdu, and I would ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilors, this evening we're going to take a couple items out of order. I want to begin with item number 329 and go from there. So, 329-17, the appointment of Bridget Rotting to the Cultural Council. And who will be representing this evening? No one. Okay. So I would, Ms. Rotting, if you would, come to the podium. If you would, Ms. Rotting, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
If you would, thank you. Give your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Bridget Rodding, and I live at 24 Marlborough Street in Lawrence.
Well, thank you and welcome. And would ask you this evening, why do you want to be a member of the Cultural Council?
Okay, I'm interested in the Cultural Council. I actually met Pat Mariano at a new homeowners meeting last May, and I just recently, about a year ago, became a first-time homeowner here in Lawrence, and she was telling me a bit about the council, and I was looking for a way to get more involved and to give something back to this city, and that sounded like a really good fit for me. I have a long career in higher education, so I have lots of experience with reviewing grants and committee work, and I just have a real passionate commitment to culture and the arts, and so this sounded like a very good fit in a way that I could. And it sounded like a very good fit for how I can contribute to the city in terms of helping to bring cultural events to the community. So.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you coming this evening.
Sure.
Councilors, questions of the candidate?
Through you?
Councilor Ortiz.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, well, how are you?
Thank you so much for being here this evening and deciding to, one, be a homeowner in our great city of Lawrence, and then be willing to just jump right in and get involved. If you could just talk a little bit about your desire to be a part of the Cultural Committee. I see here that your application speaks of your career and in library services and how that you are definitely well-versed in grant writing, which is, I'm sure that is going to, as soon as the word gets out, you're going to be a hot commodity for everyone.
Okay.
But talk to us a little bit of what draws you to the Cultural Council.
Well, I think, I see the arts and education is so intrinsically linked, and that's something I've always been involved with and passionate in my own career. Most of the libraries I've worked in have been academic libraries, and they tend to do a lot of programming and cultural events on campuses. So I have experience with doing that kind of thing as well. I just feel like in terms of the city, I think that cultural events can be such an effective way to bring people together, to give people an outlet for creative activities, and I think it can really benefit. So you know, it's an interest of mine that I feel like I have experience with as well. You know, working in libraries, the grant aspect of it, I've written them, I've helped other people write them, so I feel like I have a good skill in terms of reviewing applications. You can kind of, you know, tell from an application if somebody really has a clear sense of what their project is and how they can make it happen. So I think I can bring that critical thinking to the process as well. But, I mean, ultimately, I just feel like it is such, I keep saying it, but I mean, I feel like cultural events, the arts are so important and so valuable and so threatened sometimes these days that I think anything I can do to you know, preserve that and develop it in my community is a good benefit that I'd be happy to participate in.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm glad that the Cultural Council, if this committee so deems, is going to be gaining a very valuable member.
Thank you.
I'm pleased to have had a side conversation before we began these proceedings, and now I'm even all the more confident about having a favorable recommendation for yourself as a member of the Cultural Council. I know that you'll be definitely an added member.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Counselor. Ms. Roding, question for me.
Sure.
Often at these different organizations, boards in this case, there's a lot of work done behind the scenes, a lot of homework, if you will,
Sure.
a lot of research. What's your familiarity with board work?
I'm sorry, with?
With board work, working, whether I noticed you're involved with your parish,
Right.
and if you would just tell us.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was a member of North Parish for a number of years. I'm sort of a lapsed member these days, but when I was on it, I served on a membership committee. I've served on other committees. You know, like I said, working at Merrimack College, I served on a lot of committees outside of the library framework per se. So, you know, if you can handle faculty senate, you can probably handle just about anything in terms of committee work. I don't have experience with working in a municipal board before, and I'm sure I can, you know, the skills I have, I think, will be a good fit, but that will be a new experience for me that I'm hoping to get a chance to try out. So, does that answer your question?
No, it does, and thank you for,
Sure.
so, you know, you've been with us for 10 months, thank you for digging right in and getting involved in your community.
Yeah, I thank you for the opportunity. Other?
Just a point of information, I know that, I feel like we're on a first-name basis, Bridget, has been attending the Cultural Council meetings since the new homeowner introduction.
Yeah.
She's not a voting member, but she's been an active participant since they're open to the public, and that just shows her dedication, and I believe that she's had a little bit of experience now on how the board runs, so when I'm confident that she will be appointed. She does have a little bit of a head start.
Very good. Thank you for that contribution, it's good to know. I would also note that this evening we have the Chair of the Cultural Council with us, and Pat Mariano, and also a school committee member. Thank you, Pat. Any further questions or motions?
I'd like to make a motion to send up Ms. Rodding's nomination with a favorable recommendation to the full council.
Second motion.
There's a motion, and it's been properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Ms. Rodding, your name will now be submitted to the full council next Tuesday with a favorable recommendation from this subcommittee. And the final vote will be taken at that time.
Sounds great. Thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you.
So the next item we will take up is item number 32717, and that is the appointment of a water commissioner, Brian DePena, by Mayor Rivera. Pena, that's right, you're Brian DePena. Brian, we're gonna keep Brian DePena on the city council.
Yeah,
And
Brian Pena.
We're Brian Pena minus the DE.
I'm Brian Pena.
So, Mr. Bonet, are you representing the administration on this one? Thank you, sir.
Good evening. Frank Bonet, Personnel Director, 33 Dartmouth Street, Lawrence, Massachusetts. I'm here on behalf of Mayor Rivera to present a candidate for the Water Sewer Commissioner, as was reclassified by the City Council just recently to a grade 9 non-union position. The position was posted on November 28, 2016, remained posted till such time that Mayor Rivera approved an appointment of Brian Pena, also formerly the Water and Sewer Commissioner. An offer letter was sent to Mr. Pena on September 1st, 2017. Counter offer on September 5th, 2017. It should be part of your packets that were sent down by the mayor. We had a total of 8 individuals apply for this position since that time, and it was posted and advertised in normal places that the personnel department utilizes for posting and advertising of positions. I'm here to answer any questions associated with the administrative process. Mr. Pena's here to answer any questions that you may not know of him, but I doubt you may have too many questions associated with his background.
Thank you, Mr. Bonet. At this time, we'll entertain questions from the committee.
Do you?
Myra?
Mr. Pena, if you could please come. Thank you so much. So if you could just spend a little bit of time sharing with us your most recent experience and in the time that you were not serving as Water and Sewer Commissioner. So if you could just bring us up to speed.
Sure. So I have been serving the last 13 months as the Assistant DPW Superintendent for the town of Tewksbury, and it has given me an opportunity to see not just how a large city is run, but something of a smaller system. So very similar challenges to what we had in Lawrence. There are personnel issues. There's technical issues on the in terms of modernization of their work order system. There are also issues in the distribution and sewer collection systems. So I oversaw a staff of about 16 individuals, ranging from treatment staff to sewer collection staff and water distribution staff. The position was a little more limited as opposed to the work that I did here in Lawrence, where I also oversaw the MS4 system, which is a separate stormwater sewer system. That was actually handled by the engineering department, which I was not a part of over the last 13 months. So sort of, very similar and yet different structure. So it's a Board of Selectmen versus City Council. So I definitely feel that I've gained a lot of value, and I want to bring what I've learned in the last 13 months back to the position here.
And so piggybacking on that and your experience in the 13 months and what you are planning on offering the city of Lawrence now, what would be the one thing that you experienced in your previous appointment in Tewksbury that you would bring to benefit Lawrence?
It's going to sound funny, but one of the things that I have been doing a lot have been procurement of small piecemeal jobs for infrastructure renewal here in the city of Lawrence, because my background prior to serving the city was in consulting. We looked at infrastructure renewal as one large project. When we put out something to bid, we put out, for instance, a sewer rehabilitation project, including manholes, including frames and covers, including road work. And because of lack of resources in smaller towns, what they've done is a piecemeal. It actually has a benefit in that there is a quicker response time. You end up with smaller contractors so that they can actually mobilize and take care of issues that are happening today, versus having to mobilize an entire crew as part of a schedule, so that if you are calling them, with a day or two's notice, then it turns into a change order, so it actually costs the city much more money. So I have a lot of experience now on procuring and managing smaller contracts, which I do hope to bring here. And actually, based on my own experience, I know that there is a need. One item in particular, the sewer division, under the leadership of Matt Halloran, has done a great job at responding to a lot of issues that we've had in terms of sucking catch basins or manhole covers, but his staff is small, and we do need help from an outside contractor to sort of augment the amount of work. So I do know that there is a need, and I plan to get right into it.
And so how familiar are you with the present Salbrook project?
I'm sorry?
The Salbrook project?
It's not ringing a bell.
Okay, so presently, I'm sure that you're aware in the time that you were here in Lawrence that we have an issue in Prospect Hill over near Methuen. Are you familiar now?
Sorry, sorry, you're talking
That's
about
the name.
Salbrook.
Yes.
Yes, on Leroy Ave.
Yes.
Yes, very familiar with that project.
Okay, and so bringing that to the forefront, because it's of interest to me, it's in my district, and I've been in somewhat communication throughout the phases of the project. How would you implement these? Is that a project that we can be taking a second look at as smaller usage of individual contractors or smaller projects, or is that something that would not pertain to that? How would you handle that project?
So unfortunately, that would not. That is actually part of a much larger project. And I'm working on data that's 13 months old. I haven't been apprised of any new development.
Okay.
But there are many pieces to that, including portions of the large drainage lines that run under a property, the former Tom Borello site, that we haven't been able, or we weren't able to access during my tenure here because it was classified as a hazardous waste site. So there are all sorts of implications with accessing there. So it's a much larger project. So unfortunately, you have to work on the entirety of it, because if any portion that gets upgraded on Leroy Ave, for instance, would be great, but it just moves the restriction further down the line.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I'll yield the floor.
Thank you, Councilor Ortiz.
No, I have a question. Welcome back to the city of Lawrence, Peña.
Thank you.
I think you make a great job for the city, and I know everything you're doing for when you stay in the water department. Welcome back again.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for coming back. I'm happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor De Pena, Mr. Pena. Once again, thank you.
Peña Di Pina.
Thank you for coming this evening and coming for us. But most of all, thank you for considering coming back to the city.
Yep.
I don't have questions for you because I'm familiar with the work you did in an excellent way until you left 13 months ago or 14 months ago. Obviously, we've adjusted the way we do business here in the city, and you're back. The city's going to be better for it. I will be supporting this evening. I'll be supporting it next Tuesday. Do you have any questions of us? Do you have any hesitations, anything we need? We joked about it before the meeting, but is there anything that we can answer for you regarding this process or regarding the job itself, how it's changed since you left?
Honestly, I've tried to keep myself apprised of the going-ons in the city. Being familiar with the city, being local, having family in the city, I feel like I've been apprised of a lot, other than very specific details. So right now, in terms of the process, I have no questions, but I do appreciate it.
No worries. So again, thank you. Like the last candidate, I appreciate you. She was getting involved after just coming to our city. Thank you for coming back and considering this job opportunity.
Of course.
So with that said, are there any, I'll entertain a motion.
I would like to send up Mr. Pena with a favorable recommendation to the full council for his appointment as, what's the position, Water and Sewer Commissioner?
Yep.
I want to be sure I get it right. I might appoint you to something else.
Second.
There's been a motion, and it's been properly seconded to send the item number 3, 2717, appointment as the Water Commissioner, Brian Pena, to the full council with our recommendation. All those in favor?
With a favorable recommendation.
Yep, that's what I said,
Oh,
right?
I thought you said without a recommendation. I'm like, what?
Favorable recommendation, favorable recommendation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Mr.
Thank
Pena,
you.
congratulations.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Meeting is next Tuesday, 7 o'clock right here, and at that time, it'll be dispensed.
I'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item will be item number 32817, the appointment of Stephen Conforti to the Lawrence Housing Authority. I would note that this is a reappointment sent down by Mayor Rivera on September 15th. Mr. Conforti, if you would come forward, please. I would note that, as you'll see in the package that was provided for us, that Mr. Conforti is also our former city council president and city councilor, like Mr. Quattroni was a few months ago when he came before us for the Greater Lawrence Sanitary District. So, with that, Mr. Conforti, welcome this evening. Thank you for bearing with us earlier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for taking me at the end of the agenda. I appreciate it.
No worries. The way things worked out, it was right on time anyhow. So, Mr. Conforti, you're interested in serving another term in the Housing Authority. Tell us why.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I didn't get to complete it a full term. I think it was already a year or so into the term I replaced an individual. So during those 4 years, though, it takes a little while to get acclimated to what's going on with what the authority was doing, and I already had an idea, but until you're doing it with the nuts and bolts, I got to appreciate it. And I have to tell you, as a person who's dealt and overseen or had a lot of interaction with a lot of municipal agencies or committees or boards, what have you, it's extremely well run. So, but I think what's more important than affordable housing nowadays, because everywhere you go, whether you're in Boston or around here, it's even more important around here because we have people of lower income, and if you go to a private source to try and rent, the rents, I don't know how some people on lower incomes afford it. So, having the authority which offers, we just dealt with an issue with proposed increases, suggested increases from the state and federal agencies, and when we kept ours a little bit lower, it's not as high as they recommended, because people, even though they're subsidized, they still have to pay for some of it. So I feel, I want to get back to the community and still be in touch with it. Civic involvement's always been important to me, and helping this particular issue, which I have some degree of expertise in, it allows me to do that. So I'd like another crack at a full term.
Thank you. I would also note, like the last candidate, that most of us are familiar with Mr. Conforti's work, so if at home or if the record doesn't reflect a lot of questions, Mr. Conforti's 20-plus years of contributions to the city are in his application, but it's also something that's played out in the public forum. So, are there questions for Mr. Conforti?
No.
I don't have a question. It's overqualified.
Overqualified.
Yes. I know Mr. Conforti for 25 years,
You know what? If I may, I just read somewhere in an editorial, I can't remember where, about they're trying to bring back civics to schools requirement. They took it away when they did Ed Reform Act back in the early 90s. It's not mandatory, and now it is. And so, I don't know, for me as a child, growing up here through the Frost School and the Weatherby School I went to, and the Kane Junior High, which is no longer there, I learned civics, and to me, it was exciting. It's just like something computers might be to a child today. And so civic involvement, I think people take it for, they don't know about it, a lot of kids, and then maybe reach adulthood, there's no connection to it. So, I don't know, some of us have never lost it. It's in the blood. I guess it's like if you run for office. So, I find it rewarding, as I'm sure you do.
Well, again, thank you, Mr. Conforti, for the years of public service and for offering to continue to do this and serve for another full term, or a full term. If there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion of any kind.
I'll make a motion to send up Mr. Conforti's application and appointment to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
I second motion.
There's a motion to forward item 32817 with a favorable recommendation of Stephen Kafori for reappointment to Lawrence Housing Authority. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations, Mr. Kafori.
Thank you very much, councilors. I appreciate your consideration.
You. And this will be taken up next Tuesday, 7 p.m. right here.
I'll be here. Thank you kindly. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other items on the agenda that anyone wishes to discuss this evening? If there aren't any, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
The motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you and good night.